Hey everybody, today we are going to be talking about this truck that's behind me. It is our 2013 F-150 that is from our rental fleet, and recently we had a really bad mechanical claim with it. Somebody during our customer's trip decided to put sugar in the gas tank, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that because it's something that's really new for us having to deal with, as almost all the claims that we've ever dealt with are um, physical claims, like physical body claims, something like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's these little pieces right here where they physically damage the vehicle. And it was the first time we had to deal with something that was more mechanical based, that was a little bit more difficult for the Turo team to see. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how exactly we had to handle that and how to make sure that you get paid if this ever happens to you, since I know it's pretty rare. So let's head into the office and we can talk a little bit more about it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angel and I run a rental fleet out of the Chicago suburbs. Now, I made this new YouTube channel to talk to you guys about all the real world problems that tend to be on the background or the behind the scenes of other content creators and other businesses, so that you guys can see everything that actually happens and everything that people deal with on a day-to-day basis, and you guys can not have that stuff happen to you. Getting back to the problem at hand and how you guys can avoid it, this vehicle was rented out for, I want to say, like 2 to 3 months. I might be wrong, but I'll put up the little photo up here so you guys can see exactly how long. But the vehicle was a newer piece of inventory in our fleet, so we were a bit excited about this longer rental coming in all of a sudden. So the drop off, well, the pickup went great. The customer came by and saw the car, loved the car, went and took it, no problems. And I want to say about 2 weeks after the vehicle had already been out on its trip, the customer goes ahead and texts us on the app and lets us know very frantically that the vehicle has sugar in the gas tank. He says he's not sure exactly how it happened, and he understands that the car was not like this previously, but that he went to put gas in the vehicle and found out that there was sugar in the gas tank now. So he obviously stated that he didn't want to go ahead and drive it anymore because he knew that could have very much affect the vehicle, and he needed pointers on what to do next. Now, I'm pretty sure I've never actually talked about this in any of our videos, but Turo has this team called the roadside team. Now, these guys can help out a lot when it comes to anything like a jump start for a car or a tow service for a vehicle. That's mostly what they handle, but they tend to take at least 2 to 3 days to get anything done on their end. And in cases like these, you always want to jump on top of it and have it done as soon as possible. Now, in this case, the guest was the one that opened up a claim for us. So the claims team contacted us right away and let us know that we needed to get the vehicle back. Thankfully, the customer was obviously still on his trip, so all we needed to do was get the vehicle back, and we went ahead and swapped the customer into another vehicle. Now, here came the more difficult part, because now you have to get some kind of a tow service and get it all the way to wherever the vehicle is, as well as now you have to deal with the claims team to get reimbursed for that tow service. Now, in our case, we know a lot of people around the area, so it was very easy to get a couple of friends to get their tow truck to go and pick up the vehicle for us at a little bit more of a discounted rate. That was very helpful, but for someone like you, it might be a little bit more difficult. Rest assured, the ending will not be bad. So after we had the vehicle, obviously I was waiting on what exactly the claims team wanted me to do with the vehicle, since I had never really dealt with something that was more mechanically based compared to physical damage, like I said earlier, where the vehicle very clearly has something wrong with the car that wasn't previously there. So I started looking into videos, seeing what the process was for this with the Turo platform, and there wasn't any videos on it. No one had ever really seemed to deal with this or even something similar to it. So I went ahead and decided that this was a perfect video to do and record my experience so that you guys could know what to do in the future, and there was some kind of record of it online. So I waited for the claims team to reach out to me in any way, shape, or form, and they decided to ask me to go and get an inspection performed by a shop. Now, I had seen that a lot of people were telling me that mechanical claims are really iffy just because you can't really prove that something is wrong with the vehicle in its entirety necessarily. Obviously, the guest said something and the guest sent pictures of something, and you can say something, but unless they send someone out to physically look at the problem at hand and be able to distinguish what's going on, then you can't really prove anything. So I took it to my shop, and my shop went ahead and did the inspection for me, gave me a full-on estimate of what exactly the car needed to do. And in these cases, whenever you get sugar in your gas tank, it's one of the worst things you can get in there. And it basically means that you have to do a complete flush of the entire fuel system, everything from where the sugar went in all the way to your actual engine and your fuel injectors. For those of you that may like mechanical parts in cars, you guys definitely know what that is. If not, I'll put a photo up here so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what exactly is going on. And this was very frustrating for me just because, like I said, I had seen that people were scared when the claims mechanical team was involved, because sometimes they just don't approve things if there's not enough proof. So I went ahead and contacted the dealers, saw what those pieces that needed to be replaced costs, just so I had an idea, as well as I tried contacting the Mechanicals Turo team so that they could keep me updated as much as possible. But unfortunately, in this case, it was just a waiting game. It was just a waiting game until they reviewed all the situations as well as my invoice for everything. Flash forward to 2 weeks later, because the car has been sitting on my lot for 2 weeks now since I had taken it to the shop and gotten them to inspect it and figured everything out. And I just needed to know if my car was going to get fixed or not, so I didn't want to keep it with them. But we finally got an answer from the claims team, and they let us know that they wanted us to confirm the price with the shop so that we could know exactly what we were working with. Now, I told them exactly what had happened, and I am, like I said, in the Chicago suburbs, and this vehicle was in the dead center of Chicago. So the tow service was pretty costly. It was about $250 to get my car back, and the repair itself, obviously it depends on every vehicle exactly how much you're going to have to pay per part. If you have a cheaper or more expensive vehicle, every part is going to be different, but for this case, my vehicle cost almost $3,000 to repair and replace everything that was necessary to replace. So I let them know this, and I made sure with the shop beforehand that this was the final price, and the very next day they sent me a payment for this repair. Now, it was a very suspenseful situation, but thankfully we had enough evidence, and the customer was vocal enough for us to have this situation covered. But that doesn't mean that everybody is that lucky. So let's talk about some things to avoid this situation in the future, which obviously you have to avoid this situation in the future, which obviously you don't have full control of because you don't know what your rental customers are really doing with your vehicles, but do note that there is always things you can do. So I have ordered some of those locking caps for my vehicles so that they have an extra level of security in them, and we don't have to worry about rental cars getting this to happen in the middle of the street, as long as our rental customers are using the little cap properly, as well as I have made sure to let guests know that this is something that could happen on their trip, just so that they're a bit more careful with maybe where they're parking or what's going on. Obviously, you don't want to scare your guests, but you also want to let them know of what's going on around the area. So I went ahead and implemented those things, and unfortunately, the most that you can do after that is just make sure that you're constantly checking your cars, make sure that there's not sugar in the gas tanks, that there's no problems with them, which just goes back to my previous video where you want to always make sure that you are doing your pre and post inspections always, because you could probably save your life from having to deal with a situation like this and just move on. So that's the situation in hand. And like I said, we finally got paid, and that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about, because throughout this whole process and the 2 weeks that I had where it was very suspenseful, like I said, there was just nothing online and no one that could really help me explain what to do in this case. And honestly, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of how the situation worked and what to do in these cases. Although this may not have cost us money, it definitely cost us a lot of time and still is, but now we know what to look out for. That's always great when you have a business like this that is crazy with all the customers. So I hope you guys learned something and can apply it to your fleet if you have one. And if you don't, I hope these videos don't scare you off, but hopefully next time it won't be as grim and we can talk about something a little bit more lighthearted, maybe like cleaning vehicles and how I get that done, or my rental check-in and check-out process. But stay tuned for the next videos and have a great day. Bye.